fans, and welcome back to Jay vs. Horror. I'm your host, Jay Wall, and today, guys, we're going to be talking about the 2020 horror film Anything for Jackson. It was just put out on Shudder today, so go over there and check it out if you think it sounds interesting, which it is interesting to say the least. Now, it's an American horror film directed by Justin G. Disick and written by Keith Cooper. It stars Sheila McCarthy, Julian Richings, and Constantina Matalos. So just to get started here, guys, I'm going to read you the IMDb, and these are always pretty terrible when it comes to describing films. It says, a bereaved Satanist couple kidnap a pregnant woman so they can use an ancient spell book to put their dead grandson's spirit into her unborn child, but end up summoning more than they bargained for. And yes, that is all one sentence on here. But it does actually kind of describe what's going on. The film is broken up into 3 acts. The first act shows us this ordinary older couple starting out their day when a young woman shows up at the house and suddenly things go crazy. They attack her, they drag her into the house, and they take her hostage. From here, we're informed that they are grieving the loss of their grandson, Jackson, and that they are attempting to summon forth a demon through a demonic ritual who, once released, will transfer the soul of their dead grandson into the unborn baby the pregnant woman is carrying. Now, trust me, guys, this film is always weird. It's never what it seems to be, and this part almost seems like it has some comedic undertones because we see these sweet, loving grandparents, but at the same time, they're utter psychopaths, and they've thought out every step of what they're trying to do here. They've even thought about talking to the police about this woman's disappearance, how they're going to make it look like she went on a Tinder date and didn't come back. All of these different things they've already thought of, and they want her to know specifically that there is no changing their mind. There is no going back, that no matter how ugly things get and no matter what happens to her, they will see their grandson return. So after they make sure that they have control of her and that no one can hear her scream, they set about with their ritual. And this is a pretty quick scene where it shows us that they're trying to call forth this demon who's going to help them. And then from there we see that they kind of are all exhausted and everybody goes to bed. Well, they wake up the next morning, and here's where the second act starts, because they realize very quickly they messed up. And there's some good scenes here in this second act where different ghosts and demons start to inhabit the house and they start to do crazy things. Some of these scenes we've seen before in other films. There's like a contortionist scene where the guy twists his body all up and runs at the camera real fast, and some of that stuff doesn't work, but there's other things that do work. And there's also another little subplot here where anyone who shows up to the house, as soon as they're there, similar to like The Grudge, it takes over their mind, and then they go on to do something crazy while they're in the house. So there's some fun scenes there where it kind of pushes the film in different directions that you don't see coming. There's also a little bit of tension in this act because the first actual interaction that the grandfather does have with police, because he is a doctor and he was treating this pregnant woman, so his office is one of the first places they go to ask about what may have happened to her. He botches it really bad. I mean, he messes up horrendously with his story, and the cop instantly knows he's lying. She is not stupid, and so instantly the police are looking pretty hard at this couple while all this stuff is going on inside their house and outside their house to some degree, because now everybody's just going crazy in this movie. So then we hit the third act, and here's where the movie kind of fell apart for me, where I didn't enjoy it as much, because they introduce a new character to the film, and this is supposed to be the antagonist now, because at some point during the second act, they kind of reveal what's going on, and they let the couple explain to the pregnant woman who's bound to the bed, you know, how much they loved their daughter who was in this car accident, and they lost their grandson Jackson at the same time, and they want to at least be able to bring him back from the dead, and that their grief is just tremendous. It's almost like one of those films like Hereditary, and we've seen it several times this year already. We saw it in The Lodge a little bit. The kids are grieving, the dad is grieving, and then we saw it in Relic where the old woman is dying and the children are grieving, the grandkids are grieving. It's enough with the grieving already. We get it. If you want to make a movie like that, please stop putting in the dark, ominous shots of hallways and fireplaces. Everybody may think they can do what Ari Aster does, but they can't really do it as good as he does, so just leave it alone. Maybe make a movie about something else for a little while. But this third character that they introduce in the last act is just a terrible character. It almost feels like it's supposed to be comedic, and then when they don't need the character anymore, they just throw it away. He is a member of their Satanist church, and he is able to translate this book, and so he shows up and tells them, well, obviously what's going on in your house is that you guys messed up. You didn't realize what you were doing, and now you've opened a gateway to hell. And so his next idea is that he's going to take over this situation and wield that power. This character is supposed to be far more evil than the grandparents, but he's pretty ridiculous. He seems like a total doofus. I mean, he's got a bad comb-over. He lives in his mother's basement. And it's just almost like you can't take this guy seriously. You know, he's trying to laugh maniacally and stuff, and his comb-over's blowing around in the air. It's hilarious. And it had to be intentional to some degree. But the last act of this film doesn't work nearly as good as the first two acts does, and it just kind of seems like they didn't really have anywhere to go with it. So this is what they chose to bring in, you know, a new antagonist, who they then dispose of pretty quickly with a bad subplot to the film. And then there's just this kind of ambiguous ending where you don't really know what took place. I mean, you're left to wonder about the consequences of what's happened here. So, guys, with all that being said, I am going to give Anything for Jackson 6.5 out of 10. I definitely think it's worth taking a look at. Some of you are going to like it more than I did. I found some of the scenes with the ghost to be really good, and then I found some of them to be really cheesy and bad kind of horror tropes that didn't need to be in the film. They could have cut those out. I think if they'd established that character in the final act earlier and maybe showed that he was pushing them towards what they were doing and then was always planning to take control of the situation, that part would have worked a lot better had it been rewritten like that. But other than that, yeah, 6.5 out of 10. I think it's a decent watch. It's on Shudder right now. Guys, we are going to leave you with the trailer for Anything for Jackson, and we will talk to you the next time we've got something worth talking about. Bye.
Watch the steps. Shh. Keep quiet. Shh. Watch the baby.
Hello, my name is Audrey, and this is my husband, Henry. We don't want to hurt you or your baby. We feel this would be the best way for you to go missing.
Dr. Walsh, morning. Here to clean your drive.
No, everything's okay.
Thank you so much for the book.
Hail Satan. Hail Satan. Hail Satan. Hail Satan.
Assuming you've seen some ghosts, huh?
No one has more time than a grieving family. We can do this. He's coming back to us.
Trick or treat.